Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some Kydex, make some sheaths for some of those little knives we were doing yesterday. The cows are yelling at me. Already got a fire going in here, so it's toasty. Now I used to hate Kydex, and I still get comments. People will say, why would you put like a piece of plastic, piece of junk on that knife? And I'd rather leather. Leather sheaths, in my opinion, are way classier. It depends on the application, they're better, but leather is a huge amount of work and there's a huge cost involved, whereas Kydex is relatively quick and that way it's much more affordable. And I'm not very good at leather. I'm gonna grab the press and we're gonna make some sheaths. Kydex press. A lot of people ask where I get this stuff from. I got this from knifekits.com and they sell it like big chunks of it. I forget the sizes that it comes in, but I still have all this as well, which is enough to do my press once more. So once that stuff gets completely worn out and useless, I'll just rip it off. I just put it on there with some Super 77 adhesive, and I've got a video on how I made this press. This is just like some maple and hinges. Also, another Kydex tip one of the viewers told me about, you can actually help with these impressions here if you want to. Just take a heat gun and you kind of heat this stuff up and it'll kind of come back. So having said that, even with these impressions, like what's there right now, yeah, it's got these marks, it's got impressions all over it, top and bottom, but honestly, it's still working just great. Now some people will think that 3 is too many, but it kind of depends on your press and the press material that you're using. Some guys rather just have 2, some people just 1, but it's kind of something you have to figure out for yourself. Just kind of play, like I said, the type of press material you're using will kind of affect how hard it squishes, so it's one of those things. 2 or 3, basic idea. Tape on the blade will help give you a little bit of clearance there, and you don't want too much or else it's going to jiggle around in the sheath, but just a little bit and it'll help protect your blade and keep it looking nice. Alright, so we got all our blades taped. Now we're going to cut the Kydex, and I'm actually going to try doing a few, like maybe 2 of these small ones at a time. If I work quick enough, should be okay. And I also get my Kydex from knifekits.com. Obviously these mats here, they're pretty handy for protecting your work surface. Another thing I like about them is the rule on them. So for stuff like cutting Kydex, just kind of did a quick check and I want this at 3 inches, 6 inches overall, so I want to cut it right in half. It's really handy when you're doing stuff like this. I can just set this right here and I don't have to mark anything out. I've got my 3-inch line right here and I can just line up my ruler and get nice straight cuts. For stuff like this, it's not super critical. Obviously trim the Kydex afterwards, but really handy, these mats here. So I wore one out in about a year and they do wear out eventually. They're supposed to be self-healing, but they don't last forever, but they're really handy for stuff like this. And then also when I wear this side down too much, I can flip it over and I've got another side too, so these are really handy in the shop. Heat up the Kydex in the toaster oven. I do mine about 275 and don't use the timer. I just turn this all the way up so it keeps going. Put the Kydex in there till it's a wet lasagna noodle and then it's ready. I always like just to make sure that the Kydex is nice and clean, just wipe it off, mostly just dust. And then also there's 2 sides on most Kydex. This is the matte side and this is the shiny side. Most people like the matte side facing out, so just keep that in mind when you go to put it in your press. And because it's such a time-sensitive process, really you want them out of the oven and into here as fast as possible. Always do a dry fit, just to make sure you know exactly where the knife's gonna go in the press, especially if you're doing multiples. So I just make sure that it's all gonna work out. You know, knives aren't gonna fall while I try and delicately arrange them and stuff. That way, boom, we're just good to go. We're not wasting time. Wear gloves so you don't burn yourself. I like these ones because they're not like heavy leather. They're still quite tactile, but a little bit of thermal insulation. Almost forgot to get a clamp ready. Some people say that you wait till the edges kind of curl up. I found that to be a little bit too long, so I like to get it right before that point. Really, like a wet lasagna noodle, that's the perfect time to put it in a press. Okay, it's go time. And now you just wait. Usually I'll leave mine about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. A lot of people say 10, but I find 15 is a little bit more because that foam is an insulation, so that heat doesn't disappear right away. You just gotta wait for it. I've got this thing for losing keys. I always lose my keys, so while I'm waiting, I'm gonna see if I can find my keys. And the bummer with that is it's got my key fob for the gym on there. Where are my keys? No car keys in here. We do have a Gransford's Brook. I think while I wait for this Kydex to finish, I should probably go do our chores. Look after our critters. That trailer was actually the very first YouTube project build that I ever did on this channel. Hey little buddy. These are the good eggs. Okay, this is awesome. I found my car keys. I'm so shocked that I found my car keys laying out in the field. I guess it's a good thing I went to do chores today. Okay. You can kind of see where the blade edge is there, and I usually go maybe like a 1/4 inch or so beyond that. And this first line that I'm drawing is actually just for the rivet hole locations. And again, I can eyeball these up. Now keep in mind, the closer you put your rivets to the blade, the harder the press is going to be, the tighter the fit. Obviously, if it's further out, if you had your holes way out here, there's just more room for the material to flex. I want the first one right here. Usually I'll leave the first one a little bit below the lip here where the handle material is, because that's where that's where your hold comes, so it's what keeps the blade in the sheath. So usually I'll put my rivet first one eyelet first down just a little bit. That way it's not going to have any binding issues, but it's enough pressure that it'll hold this material fairly snug. It'll allow it to give that nice pop, but then also be able to pull it out easy enough just with one hand and flicking it out with your thumb. I'll do one right at the end here. Well, there we go, 1 inch apart. These are the bits I like to use for Kydex, Brad point drill bits, I believe they call them. They've got that really nice point in there. These are designed for drilling in wood, but they work awesome for Kydex. And then usually at this point, I will put in a couple of eyelets. Keeps the holes lined up. And then what I'll do is I'll just put a countersink in the drill press, and I will just by hand bring these up to it just to knock off that burr. Does a really quick, really nice job. Just like that. Now's the time when you want to make sure you have everything out of here, because we're going to pop these together. Blue handle. I'm going to use red eyelets. I've never done red eyelets before. Whoops. I think it'll be alright. And then one more step I'll do to this once I've got everything sanded up well. So actually take it over to the buffer really quickly and just lightly buff it, and it makes it look like one piece of plastic. It works fantastic. So let's go do that. See how that gives you a really nice surface finish there. Kind of makes it look like a single solid piece of plastic. And then I'll come in with my Fordham and a cotton buff on it, like a little one, and just do the same thing to these edges. And yeah. Right guys, well, that's it for today. Heading out to my parents for supper. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.